Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Command Center. We'd like to put our favorite commander, maybe even yours, front and center. And you know we can't do that unless we play those. I can't even think of the word. It's just so beyond me. But those three just crazy letters, EDH. What does it stand for today, Hado Can?
It stands for Embracing Different Histories. That's right. Past magic. According to Neil deGrasse Tyson, their universe is beyond. There's collaborations that can actually infiltrate magic to actually potentially make it better. But before we talk about these, we'd like to give a shout out to our patron.
That's right. We always want to shout out a patron when they join the Mana Squad. And Derek, today, who are we shouting out?
Today we have Alexander Evie. Hopefully we're close on that. And the beautiful commander of Zancha Sleeper Agent. Zancha is so much fun. It's a red and a black for a sleeper agent that basically enters the battlefield under an opponent's control that you get to choose. It attacks each combat, can't attack you or any planeswalkers you control, and then people can pump mana into Zancha to give that player some life loss and draw a card. And any player can do this. It's a wonderful way to get all your friends to team up on that one friend that y'all have been feeling petty against and show them love in the best way possible in draining all their life and drawing cards in the process. It's a good time.
That's right.
So, Alexander, thank you so much for showing us support, for supporting all the strange things that we do. Love you. And, keep watching because it's only going to get weirder from here.
Now we got that out the way. Let's talk about this universe from beyond. All right. And a gal in up there, Pluto, no longer a planet. Anyway, so there was some sets that came over and did some crossovers. Go ahead, Derek. Tell them about them.
Yeah. You were just walking down the street trying to play Magic one time, then bam, Barney jumped out of a Magic card. It was like basically like in Yu-Gi-Oh, it just popped out of the ground and then just started just throwing
haymakers,
little tiny hands, and then until you went to the Shadow Realm, and that's how this all started. We needed revenge.
The scariest one was when Woody and Buzz came out and jumped me, and then as they was curb stomping me on the ground, yelled out, "You got a friend to me." It's not really friendly to me. But
That's not till 2025. So Universes Beyond are basically, if anyone has not been familiar with it, are Magic sets using non-Magic IP. So it's pulling worlds outside of the world of Magic into Magic. Most famously and first, we had The Walking Dead, and we're actually going to walk through a calendar of all these sets. And most recently, we've had The Lord of the Rings, basically pulling the whole Lord of the Rings world and lore into Magic the Gathering, which has been kind of awesome, and we'll get into our thoughts on kind of the progression of that. So I do want to kind of go over a calendar real quick of all of the sets we've seen, because at this point it's been basically 3 years. I thought it was 2 years. It's been 3 years since Universes Beyond started.
So what happened was it's actually 2 years, and it's according to the notes. Apparently, The Walking Dead was grandfathered in.
Oh, okay. So the movement of Universes Beyond has been 2 years, but in effect 3 years since The Walking Dead, which is insane to think about because it feels like that had just happened, and I thought Magic died when that happened.
Yeah,
so,
I can still hear your anger from 3 years ago.
How are we still here? I thought it died. So
y'all asses are still itching.
We had so many rational thoughts at the time.
Rick is still beating y'all ass. We're about to get there though.
Yeah. So in 2020 was when The Walking Dead Secret Lair dropped, and everyone lost their collective minds. It was a lot going on. Everybody was like, oh no, the world's ending. There's people on Magic cards. There's cars. There's a bat, and things are terrible.
Oh God, the world is burning. Oh, birds aren't real.
Oh no, our game of dragons and monsters now has a car in it and a van. What are we going to do? But we made it past that. And then Stranger Things came out in 2021. Kind of a similar thing, getting movie characters. And in both of these, one of the most interesting things was having real life actors and actresses on cards, because both of these, they didn't do like a fantasy version or comic versions. They did basically putting the real life people onto Magic cards, which I know was a different thing too, because now we just got like regular people running around on Magic cards.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things, especially with these sets, is that people question, one of the biggest questions is power. How would the power be regulated? And then, of course, these are going to be legal, not in standard, but in other sets.
Yeah.
So would it be fair for these to be powerful, or would they just be a gimmick and they just be slotted in the deck as, oh, this is an 11 deck, and you draw 11 cards, or if you have 11 cards you win the game. Some goofy like that.
Yeah.
And
So
we're gonna get more into that. Sorry, I was gonna cut you off. We're gonna get more into that in a second. Of kind of like the thoughts of like what the ramifications are.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to kind of get through the long list, because there's been quite a few in the 3 years. So we had The Walking Dead, followed by Stranger Things in 2021, and then again in 2021 we had Arcane, which were just reskins essentially, but it still counted under Universes Beyond because it was using that other IP. Later in 2022 we had Street Fighter, which were all brand new cards, mostly legendary creatures. I think they had some other stuff mixed in, but mostly legendary creatures, so a whole bunch of commanders in there. We got Fortnite in 2022, which I don't think I've ever seen a Fortnite card, but they are reskins of existing cards, so nothing new with that. Warhammer 40k, I think, was the biggest one when it had come out in 2022. The commander decks were home runs, wonderful decks, tons of interesting new cards, legendary creatures, so Warhammer was crazy. Transformers was also in 2022, which we'll talk more about later, where we got a whole bunch of legendary creatures for the Transformers characters in really interesting ways. We had D&D in 2023. Technically, D&D is an in-house property, but said let me know before that, because they used the movie characters specifically for that secret lair, it went into Universes Beyond. But typically, D&D is just part of the Magic universe for more.
Which
for more
I
or
didn't
less.
learn till a couple of months ago that they were the same thing until I saw Baba Lazaga and I was like, hey, ain't that a character and something that people looked at me like I was stupid? Because I was.
Temporarily.
And then most recently we had Lord of the Rings, which is obviously the biggest one to date in 2023. We got Doctor Who coming later this year. And then next year we have Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed confirmed. And I'm sure there's going to be more secret layers as we go for that. So that is a long list. There's
I don't
a
know
lot
what you're
going
talking
on.
about. The world ends after 2024.
Oh, I thought it ended in 2020.
Oh no.
We're just in the
calendar
Matrix
was
or something.
calendar was off.
Oh,
just
we
a
got
little bit.
flipped. Okay, they
Yeah,
had shifted.
yeah.
Okay.
They carried a one.
I got you. So we'll get into our if we want to do a quick kind of like our thoughts on it. I know we talked about that. Let's talk about some of our favorite cards and our favorite Universes Beyond, and then we'll get to kind of the ramifications of these sets and how we feel 2 years later. Because it feels like when Walking Dead came out, every YouTuber and their cousin and their friend and their pet made a video on how it was going to have some catastrophic effect. So we want to do a follow-up now that we've kind of come full circle with this massive release for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, if you were in a LGS, you definitely talked with your other friends at the tables about this Walking Dead stuff. So we'll be quick about each of these sets. I'm just gonna give my general impression real quick. I didn't care anything about Walking Dead when the set came out, so I didn't care about anything about the cards. Didn't even bother to read them. Apparently, I heard that Rick was just wrecking everybody's stuff.
Wreck-It Rick.
Wreck-It Rick. So I just kind of just let it be. I think Glenn was pretty good from what I heard. I think it was White and Blue doing some stuff. I don't know anything about Walking Dead, so this didn't appeal to me. But Ken, you were a Walking Dead fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you feel about Walking Dead coming into Magic?
I did not give two square bleeps about it, so I honestly didn't care. Yeah. I saw people's outrage, and I was like, okay, cool story, bro.
One thing that I did not account for, I think initially, was my fear was that you were gonna have all the staples in Magic become non-Magic entities.
Mm-hmm.
So like we have our Docksides and our Jessica's Wills and our Counterspell and the most iconic cards in Commander or just Magic in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried that they would just become like Rick, Barney, and Dora. But one of the cool things, and then we'll get into it more in a little bit, is a lot of the Universes Beyond like front-facing cards have been legendary creatures.
By the way,
so we're getting.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this literally just came to mind. The fact that there wasn't a Dora card created for the exploration part is freaking lost. There's an explore mechanic, and Dora should have been created for it. I'm so sorry. Keep going.
Thank you, Ken.
What's the Explorer mechanic?
I have no idea.
You get to reveal the top, and if it's a land card, it goes to your hand. Yeah.
That was before Universes Beyond existed.
I don't care. They should have had they should have foresight. I'm sorry.
Dora in the new Ixalan confirmed. So basically the fact that so many of the iconic and most the biggest Universes Beyond stuff are legendary creatures kind of gets rid of that, because everybody plays unique commanders, and they've even found for a lot of the staples, whether it's now this Orcish Bowmasters, which seems powerful, or the Dirkwood bats, the scary bats.
Derek Woodbacks.
Yeah, all those could just be in any Magic set. They're not very specific. So despite the fact that they're staples, it doesn't pull you out of Magic. But we'll get more into that. So first, I wanted to talk about each of our favorite crossovers so far. So there's been, like we just went over, there's a number of different ones so far, and even ones announced. So Seth, if you want to kick us off, what's been your favorite Universes Beyond crossover so far?
Yeah, so we did that entire list of all the Universes Beyond, and literally it was not until 2022, and this was a strange one. This is the one that actually caught my eye. like Stranger Things came. I love Stranger Things. I didn't get one single card. Never looked at any of the partner pairs or what they do or whatever. Just didn't really care. Street Fighter came. I played some Street Fighter back in the day. I just didn't really care to buy any cards. So Warhammer 40K came out. I know whatever's less than 0. Multiply that by infinity. Can't do the math on that. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know anything about Warhammer. I don't know anything about this product, but I saw one of the things on the shelf, and I just bought one. It was the Grixis one, and I was like, Grixis is back. They finally doing Grixis stuff. So let me see what Grixis is about. I absolutely fell in love with that commander deck. I took every legend, pretty much every multicolor legend from that pre-con. They all have their own decks right now. There's one that makes creature tokens. Your spells are cheaper based on the creature tokens you have. There's one that says you can cascade based off of how much damage you deal. There's one that's Demon Tribal. We got Demon Tribal now because of Warhammer 40K. Like, this gave me everything I was looking for that I didn't know. Well, a couple of things I knew what I wanted, but it gave me what I was looking for. So absolutely fell in love with the Grixis Demon deck. I'm still looking forward to go back and just trying out some of the other pretty strong Warhammer 40K decks, because I hear they're pretty good. They're pretty well balanced, and they're kind of strong too. Like the Tyranids, which are kind of like the insect buggy things. We got the artifact focus deck or whatever, and I think there's another like human warrior or some soldier or something going on. We'll get to. I'm just eventually going to play most of those commander decks from Warhammer 40K within the next like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I've seen. Said you've played more Warhammer commanders, whether it's the demon deck or the creature token deck. You've played more Warhammer decks than I have seen everywhere else combined.
True.
I feel like the majority of games I've played against you have involved some sort of Warhammer card, and it's crazy because, like you said, you weren't a fan going in. I don't think any of us would have guessed that it would have, but it just like connected with you, and there were such interesting designs in that set too. So. Yeah. That definitely helped.
Yeah, and the fact that we got like 40 new cards just for each of these commander decks, that was the cherry on top. So I still know absolutely zero about Warhammer 40K. I tried looking up some of the lore. It's just as dense as some of the Magic lore and a lot boring. So I'm just go ahead and pass it off, because I can talk about Warhammer commander cards forever, not necessarily the product or the property, but I can talk about the commander Warhammer 40K like ad nauseum, but somebody take it away from me, because I'm getting crazy on this one.
So I'll jump in next, and I think so. My answer on the best execute, I think obviously the Lord of the Rings is like the biggest home run. It's just, I think they did it perfectly, but I don't want to take the easy answer. I'm gonna pick one that I think was done really interestingly, and it was the Transformers one. I was obsessed with Transformers as a kid. I watched every episode of Beast Wars ever, and despite the fact that it looked like a first generation PS1 game, I still love it to death. I had every Transformers action figure, everything. But even when they announced it, I wasn't super excited. It didn't like hit me in the nostalgia too much, just because it was like, okay, this is cool. I'm sure when I was like 7, if this came out, I would have lost my mind. But once I've had some time, because as you've noticed, probably, I think we can all say this, we typically take like 6 months to digest new cards, and then eventually it hits us like, oh my gosh, this thing's amazing. It's like, yeah, that released a year ago. Yeah. So I'm finally now in the last like couple months getting into reading all of the Transformers cards from last year. And they did the greatest job of like, every one of these has interesting abilities. It has 2 sides, so you have a bunch of weird interactions, and none of them are
Strixhaven Part 2.
It's like, but slightly less convoluted. Like, they kind of flow a little bit better, but none of them are broken, but they all do like really interesting things. So you have this like really cool mechanic of transforming. They have these weird artifact synergies. Just every one of the decks, I think you can build a fun commander around without any of them becoming like ubiquitous. I don't think I've ever played against a Transformers commander, to be completely honest.
You may not have been in that game, but I had a Ultra Magnus deck together for a few times, couple months.
Yeah.
I like what the card does, but it just took a little while to get it going. So, but let's speak on what you found so far.
I will say Splicer is quite broken.
My favorite CEDH deck by far is Slicer, because Slicer is just like, literally it's a CEDH deck where you punch people in the face. Like, it's the only way to get me interested. So yeah, just all of the designs are super interesting in that they're fair. They do unique things, and the flavor is such a win for all of them. Even to the point of, I know Soundwave is one where you need to deal exact combat damage with tokens to cast things, and it makes it a lot weaker, but the fact that the frequencies have to match up and like mix to cast, it's just all on point.
Flavor win.
Yeah. From start to finish with them, they made sure that the flavor came first while still making them functional. And almost how you feel about Warhammer, I could probably build a deck for every one of the Transformers cards and have fun with it. And I can't say that for really many other things. And they just get you brewing in weird, unique ways. And it's made them less popular because they are restricted in a lot of ways. But I think long term, people will be coming back to them, finding just like weird stuff to do with them. So Ken, what is your favorite one so far?
Okay, so that's a trick question because my favorite so far is, of course, Doctor Who. And by the way, when they print this, they better give different cards for different doctors because I want David Tennant on a card. That better happen. But since we got to talk about stuff that's actually happened right now, right now it's a toss-up because 40K was a bomb set. It was a monster. I love Transformers, especially the Blightsteel Colossus Megatron, which is perfectly fitting, by the way, that he's on that card. I wish they would have did Optimus a little better because
it's Optimus.
It's Optimus. Optimus is weak anyway. So yeah, y'all know he weak. He always get folded like last week's laundry. Let's be real. But I have to go with Lord of the Rings, and the reason why I'm going with Lord of the Rings is because not just the cards themselves, but the flavor. The best part of the meal is the flavor. And I love the fact that we got all these cards names like Second Breakfast and We Shall Not Pass and Bruckleberry Fairy and all these niche moments. Smaug. The fact that Smaug isn't actually a creature is a token that generates treasures. The only letdown about Lord of the Rings is that we don't have a Helm's Deep. That is the only one that lets me down because that should have been a battle, but I'm going to let that go. I'm not going to let that go. I'm going to talk about that on the next one, too.
They need to come back to Lord of the Rings and include battles.
Specifically battles because we need a Helm's Deep and we need a 5 armies. But outside of that, like, we get different incarnations of the wizards. We get different forms of Gollum from his original as Smeagol. Like, I just love, and even the rings themselves, how they printed them, how they created rings for the elves, the dwarves, and humans.
The shadowy people, there's 9 of them.
And they all have different art with the Nazguls, that's what they're called. and the race. And I just love the attention to detail that they put behind this set, and you can share that they really cared about this.
Yeah. So they apparently, for what we can hear, they work really closely with the actual company that makes Lord of the Rings content and whatnot. So I'm assuming they're doing that for all of these universes.
I was about to say it's really shown,
but
that
it really came through for the Lord of the Rings one.
Yeah, they've done across the board on these. It does. You can tell that these aren't just cash grabs in a sense. Like the amount of work put into these, because especially with legendary creatures, it's so easy just to throw a OP legendary creature together, slap a new piece of art on it, and just be like, take our money. Mm-hmm. But like, it seems like every legendary creature in Universes Beyond, it almost feels like I've heard people say it as a detriment that it's clear that it seems like more thought goes into this than a regular Magic set or a regular precon. Because some of these Universes Beyond precons are insane. Like next level, like playing against them, it's like an individually designed deck.
Yeah,
which is just
they hold up against other people's commander decks like straight out of the box.
I regularly lose to precons now, which it's probably more my deck building.
That's actually quite offensive. I mean, I spent all this time crafting this deck, and you can go to a Target next to the fresh bread.
I had a Samwise, whatever his name is, beat me over the face with food the other night. I had a fully like personalized deck and it had no chance.
I spent so much time retooling my Get Rog and Thalia deck from a Tadem just for some a-hole to go to a Sam's Goodies in a bargain bin and pick out a mono red that stuffs my nuts in. Like, what are we doing here? The level of disrespect.
So much disrespect right now.
So the next thing we have is on a similar line. This will be a little bit quicker though. Do we have a favorite commander or just a single favorite card from these Universes Beyond sets? Because we've all talked about how much they've spoken to us. Do we have a single card that really stands out as just like our favorite so far? Said, I know you have a lot to pick from.
Yeah. Magnus the Red definitely stood out. He was the red and blue commander from the Warhammer 40K set. This is the one I described that based on the number of creature tokens you have, your instants and sorceries are cheaper, are 1 generic mana cheaper. So I'm literally just casting spells for sometimes free, sometimes 1 blue, sometimes 1 red, or maybe just a couple of pips. And it is just so satisfying to interact. I'm beating face. I'm interacting with each player at the table, and I'm holding up mana, and I'm not spending all my resources. So it hits all the notes that I'm trying to do in a commander game.
Yeah, that is an awesome card. It can take you in so many different directions. It does the thing of discounting spells, but it doesn't tell you what spells to cast.
Exactly.
Which is awesome. So my favorite is going to be, I picked Transformers. It's going to be a deck I've built recently that I've really, really been loving, and it's Flame War. So Flame War is it's the Rakdos Decepticon. And essentially, one side of the card, when you deal combat damage, you exile cards with intel counters. The other side of the card lets you sack artifacts to buff it or pay mana to discard your hand and put those exiled cards into your hand. And really, it's like a Voltron artifact reanimator type deal, because you're constantly like wheeling your own hand while trying to put equipment on and just punch people to get more and more cards in your hand.
Right.
And it's such a cool deck because you really don't worry about card draw. The whole deck is just about punching face, and you're rewarded for it by getting card advantage. It's a very like fun aggro artifact deck. Yeah, and it lets you take it different directions. I've seen treasure builds for it. I've seen equipment builds for it. I've seen just artifact value. There's just some straight up aggressive artifact like token type things you can do. There's a lot of different ways you can go. So yeah, that's been my favorite one so far, and that's saying a lot because even in Lord of the Rings, there's probably like 6 different commanders I'd want to build if you just gave me the cards in front of me and somehow gave me unlimited time to actually spend on Magic and not other things. So Ken, what do you got?
So all y'all are wrong, and let me tell you why. Again, cards are powerful. That's cool, but I'm always here for the flavor. So there's actually 3 cards in particular. No, it's 2 cards. I'm going to leave that last one out. 2 cards in particular that I like. One is a reskin, all right? It's a Lightning Bolt Hadoken, all right? It explains itself. That's one. But one of my favorite cards ever printed out of these sets is Chun-Li, because she has a kicker cost with her kicks. That is that. Whoever created that, I need to buy you a drink, because that was perfection.
The only thing I was sad about with Street Fighter, where's Akuma? Where was Akuma?
It's that 40K demon deck you got? That's Akuma. That's Akuma right there. They had to create a whole deck for him.
Akuma Matata.
A whole set. you just made Ken sad.
That hurt my soul.
So let's go to the very last topic. I believe it was what do we want to see or something like that?
One thing before that, just and this is another quick one, has our perception changed over the last 3 years now, essentially, with Universes Beyond? I know you said initially you didn't care too much. It was kind of just there.
Yeah.
Do you feel differently now?
Not really, only because I'm only going to pay attention to the cards or the sets that appeal to me, or I'm just might have to stumble upon some of these and be like, oh, okay, this was actually fun. This was actually not necessarily good, but fun. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of something has to catch my eye, and I'm not going to necessarily seek these cards out. I'm going to definitely take a look at them when they're spoiled and everything, but it's more so going to come from ooh, this is a TARDIS. Let me see what this does. This is a sonic screwdriver. What does this do?
Oh,
which incarnation of the Doctor does something different than the other? So it's gonna have to take some trial and error for me.
Yeah.
None of the Universes Beyond has been a sour note for me. It's just been what's going to appeal to me to make me play this card.
David Tennant is going to be a god. I'm just going to let you know that right now. It's literally going to have Dr. God. Doctor is going to be a new creature type.
I'm similar. I was definitely very skeptical at first. I was concerned, kind of like, is it just going to be all the best cards printed are now Universes Beyond to make more money? And is it just going to be that type of deal? And now, you got Barney fighting Dora to the death in a legacy match. But no, I've completely turned around. I love it. It's super fun. My favorite thing is that people get to dip into their nostalgia for all these different things and build commander decks around them, because the focus seems to be on legendary creatures in a lot of these, whether it's secret layers or sets, and then the other cards kind of just supplement that. It is so much fun getting to see like Warhammer fans play with their favorite Warhammer characters as a legend, or if you want to build a Transformer deck or whatever it is, it's basically like when people get altars done, except with all the flavor of the characters built in. I think it's just become awesome. Now I'm excited every time, because even if it's not something I play, seeing other people get like crazy excited for, maybe someone's a huge Final Fantasy fan, or with Doctor Who, apparently Ken likes it, and that might say something about the fan base. I don't know. We'll find out. But it's awesome to see.
I'm technically a TARDIS. I'm a bigger fan on the inside.
Ken, what are your thoughts? I think you've been positive start to finish.
So here's my deal. And I've heard people's reactions to these cards, especially all the way from the Walking Dead set. But my whole thing is this. The whole point of this card game that we play is introducing it and making it appealing to everybody on the outside. And I think that's one of the main things that people forget, is that we're trying to be inclusive. We're trying to appeal to other people, bring more people in, because the more you grow the community, the more people play, the more fun we can have. And nothing has been more apparent than the Lord of the Rings set, because there's content creators who know absolutely nothing about Magic. They never even heard of it, but they're doing content on this set because they love the IP so much. And when you have that much interest generated into a product, so now you have people coming in and say, okay, let me see what this is about. Let me get introduced. And now you got more people in your LGS, and now you got more friends at the kitchen table to play this. And I think that needs to be the main takeaway that we take away from this Universe Beyond. We can't keep it sheltered and an island into ourselves where we forget our main goal is to bring more people in.
And how can you bring some of your friends in who may have heard about Magic but aren't necessarily wanting to play it? That was me. Like, I was a exclusive like Munchkin player for like 3 years straight, and then
Never knew that, otherwise I wouldn't have hung out with you.
First of all, you love Munchkin, admit it. But even Munchkin itself evolved in a way. It was like, let's cross over with other IPs, like, you know, like Ninja Turtles and all that stuff, and let's get other people into this game. And so Magic eventually did the same thing. But I got on the Magic before they started doing the crossovers, and I'm liking it for it that they're doing these crossovers to bring more people from the outside in. Because
when I first got into Magic 2, I was completely lost. I saw angels, demons, spasms, and I was like, I don't know. How is a sapling fighting an angel? You're going to have to tell me that one right now. And it was a little difficult to get into just conceptually. And I would say if I was being introduced with a Transformer set or a Digimon set, that would have been like, or a Pokemon, I would have been like, okay, cool. I kind of get where this goes, and I can come in more cohesively.
One of the things that I guess a closing thought on that is going to be one of the things that Magic might lack a little bit is, like, for outside people, the Planeswalkers are really the biggest characters. They might not be the most interested. Like, part of what brings people in is the connection point. So if you're a Magic player through and through, maybe you have those deep connections to Planeswalkers and to certain, like, huge figures in Magic. But having other characters, especially for Commander, it's all about flavor. It's all about feeling a connection point. Yeah. So being able to play with Optimus Prime as your commander, or maybe it's Ranger Rick, or, you know, Wreck-It Rick that speaks to you, it doesn't affect anyone else's play experience. But for you, that's going to take you from being like, it's a game I might play once a month, to, oh my gosh, I'm putting all my time into building this like perfect deck because it makes me feel nostalgia or happiness. And that's the part I kind of underestimated with it. And I think, I think it's just a net positive. It's allowing more people to have fun, which is kind of, I would hope, the point.
Now, I will say, when the Universe Beyond gets a little crazy and we hit the restaurant edition and we get a Colonel Sanders legend and a Ronald McDonald legend, that's when I'm going to have to pull back a little bit. I was like, okay, y'all, now it's Mugen. Okay, now we just went all off the deep end. You know, Colonel Sanders got a 2-piece double strike special.
So to kind of pull this all together, our closing thought, I want to know all our thoughts on what we want to see next. If we could see any sort of crossover at all, what would be our dream Universes Beyond crossover? So
I'm gonna save mine for last. Go ahead,
Ken. Why don't you kick us off?
You go.
Okay, I'm gonna kick us off.
You finally get to go first.
I know it's my first time. If you pull this for me,
so my first Universal Beyond that I would like to pitch first is, of course, okay, I'm gonna tell you this right now. If this happens, y'all can take my money, y'all can take my house, y'all can even take my underwear, the one with the holes in it. If Marvel crosses over, let me tell you something right now. If I get a Iron Man legend, and of course it's going to be red and green, or if I get a Captain America, which better be Jeskai, and it has First Strike and Vigilance, oh my God, I will rock this planet with my drawers off. Then check this out. And
that you gave away.
That I gave away. Oh my God, can you imagine that? And a foiled holographic Iron Man?
Ooh, that would be nasty.
A land destruction Hulk?
Ooh.
Can you picture this?
Thor that throws lightning bolts?
Oh my God, but they hit you for 3.
Oh man, I gotta rethink mine now. Dang, hold on.
Kid, I was supposed to go first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got too excited. Go ahead.
You missed your opportunity. You missed your chance.
One shot.
One chance.
You missed your chance to blow because you had mom's spaghetti.
So I'm not quite as passionate about mine, but I'm still excited. I want them to do a Bloodborne or Dark Souls one.
Oh God.
Or Elden Ring, whichever. Something from that universe, preferably Bloodborne. One day we're gonna get a Bloodborne 2. I believe we've been being teased about this for maybe 4 years at this point. I don't know how long. But that would just be the perfect thing. It reminds me a little bit of Lord of the Rings in the sense that the lore and the flavor is already the exact same. Like, if you just printed a Bloodborne boss as a magic card, you couldn't tell any difference, like if someone hadn't played Bloodborne. So that would be the dream. Dark Souls is just such a nice, like, universe to dive into with the lore. So yeah, any sort of Soulsborne Secret Lair, I would give all my money in, buy all the copies, and be very happy.
You cast Melania, it's an instant win.
My pants will probably stay on unlike Ken's at first, but I don't know if you print like a Ludwig with the horse form thing, maybe my pants will just fall off. You never know. So what do you got?
All right, I'm gonna have to go with. It's gonna sound a little far fetched, but just follow me. You've heard of like the wrap snacks in the grocery stores?
Yes, I love those things.
I've never eaten them, but people grab them. I don't know how they taste.
I eat them regularly.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll actually your opinion about them later, but just think about it. Wrappers on cards, magic cards. I'm talking Def Jam, baby. Def Jam Records. Def Jam Records, Universes Beyond. Did y'all ever play Def Jam Fight for New York? Like, that was a boss game. That was a straight dope game that should have expanded. Should have been like 2 or 3. I'm just playing with. I'm just messing with y'all. Don't stop looking at me. Stop looking at me like that.
Like, we already did this.
We
already did it.
So for all y'all watching, if anybody has joined us recently, about almost 3 years ago at this point, we're gonna put this in the description. We have a cameo that you will be like, why the bleep did this person agree to this? Check out the video in the description. We did a Secret Lair Death Row Records intro. So this is one of our crowning achievements. Please, honestly, we're gonna put a. You know what?
It'll be a link in it.
We're gonna put a link. We're gonna put a link in front of the link.
There might be a link inside the video. I think YouTube still does that.
You need to watch this video. We're gonna end up retweeting this too. It is a classic. But yes, we had this idea.
Okay, wow. I was just playing, but apparently we already talked about this. Okay, it has to happen now. But for real, my real pick. I think if I had to go back for nostalgia's sake, it's gotta be. I had a lot of toss ups in my head, but I think I gotta see Power Rangers. I think it's kind of similar to Transformers. We can have the Megazords. We can have our, or we can just go with the Rangers themselves. Like they can start in their human form and then transform into like their Power Ranger form, or they can morph. You know, for real, morph.
Please do the non-racist Transformers or the non-racist Power Rangers though.
Which one is this?
With the color of the Power Rangers at first, they made the.
I
mean, preferably they could get rid of that part and mix up that a little bit because it was just
it
was the 90s. It was a wild time.
I always tell people the 90s were weird. All right, so look, look, Power Rangers. Come on, it's nostalgia. They're still kicking. They're still going. They're trying to reboot their brand.
Ivan Ooze,
Rita Repulsa, Goldar, all of them. Zordon, maybe I don't know. He can stay back, but Alpha, like, come on, man.
Your morpher can actually be an equipment.
I'm gonna put it like this: Green Ranger stomps. Green Ranger got a stomp. That's all I gotta say on that. And you can see the vision. I don't know if they need their own commander decks necessarily, like separately or whatever. But if you just give me one commander deck of or you just give me kind of like Street Fighter, they just print individual cards, right?
Yeah.
So just give me like 10 Power Ranger cards. I'll be happy.
Okay, I'm about to break the internet. Y'all ready? Okay, hold on.
Don't do nothing in front of me, please.
Hold on to your butts. In a galaxy far, far away.
It ain't happening.
Star Wars.
It ain't happening.
Star Wars.
It ain't happening.
Let me explain why. First of all, hold on. Lightsabers are going to be equipment cards, and they give you first strike. Okay, Force cards like Force Mind Reading is your scry ability. All Siths have menace. Okay, I need you to understand this, Star. And ready? Darth Vader is going to be a flip card. He stars as Anakin, and he can flip to Darth Vader. And Darth Vader is a planeswalker. And he's Rakdos.
You see, I like what you're saying. You got me tongue tied for a second because like I love everything you're just saying. It just ain't gonna happen.
It will. If Harrison Ford is still being Indiana Jones, which means he needs gas money, that means he's going to sell himself for these magic cards.
We're gonna get a Spaceballs one instead of Star Wars. I'm calling it now.
I'm waiting for Indiana Jones 50 where they just push him around in the casket. Anyway, if we mention any of these sets and you want to partake, please look at our affiliate link at the bottom of TCG Player. You can like You can help yourself out, help out your deck, help out yourself, and help out us at the same time. And of course, when we're playing fresh, you're gonna have to look fresh. How are we gonna do that?
We're gonna buy our clothes from somewhere across the multiverse, but make sure that when you look across the multiverse, that you shop from Into the AM using our affiliate link at the bottom, because it'll help you not only look fresh but play fresh, but just walk across the multiverse all fresh as well.
Remember, in space, they can't hear you scream, but they better print these Marvel cards, because oh my God, you know what? I'm gonna have to make one to show you. You can't be told what the Matrix is. You got to see it for yourself, which will be another good one. That I can't.
Do y'all think that if Into the AM made pants, Ken would actually start wearing pants?
No.
I hope so. Please Into the AM.
No.
Please make more pants.
All I know is Donald Duck is my hero, and so is Winnie the Pooh, because they always keep things hanging out and loose.